Yes.
Okay.
Crank it.
All right. Okay. We will call to order the annual meeting of the Spooner Area School District and the budget hearing. Can I get a pledge of, the time is 6 o'clock, Jesse. And can I, we'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance first.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Moving on to the item 3, announcements. Letter A, the Board of Education members and terms. Those are all listed on the on your packet. Item B, for this meeting, each speaker addressing the chairperson should state his or her name and township or city for the record. Also, item C, participation in voting is restricted to district residents only. Item D, the voting procedure will be as a raise of hands this evening. And item E would be regular board meeting immediately to follow the annual meeting to adopt the 23-24 tax levy. Moving on to item 4, an election of the chairperson.
David Aslan, Town of Casey. I nominate Megan Benson Morrow.
Second? Or can I say? Okay. Sorry.
Are there any
I will
other
second
nominations?
that.
Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Any other nominations? Okay. Passes. Okay. Moving on to item F, approval of the minutes from the annual meeting held on October 17th, 2022. Can I get a motion to approve those?
So moved. Go ahead.
So moved.
Second.
All right. Item 6, moving on to new business, and it would be item A, resolution A to adopt the 23-24 tax levy, Wisconsin State Statute 120.10, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. And a presentation from Dr. Aslan.
All right, we'll start with a general overview of our tax levy. We are looking at a tax levy of $19,423,571. Of that amount, $15,053,017 is allocated to Fund 10, which is our general fund. $4,180,554 for Fund 39, that's our referendum-approved debt, and $190,000 for our Fund 80, which is our community service fund. As you can see, the Fund 10 revenues and expenses matches, so we're looking at a balanced budget for 23-24. And then it goes to the all funds revenues and expenses, which are around $27 million. At the bottom of the slide is our estimated expenses for Fund 49 for the final payments and the construction projects finishing up with that 2020 referendum. Any questions on that?
No questions at this time.
The fund balance is a district's, it's a representation of the difference between the district's assets, or what the district owns, and liabilities, or what the district owes. The district fund balance is commonly confused as being a cash balance, similar to an individual's checking or savings account, and this is not entirely the case. It consists of cash equivalents, such as investments, and non-cash components, such as grants and taxes receivable. There are, a frequently asked question is, how large should a district's fund balance be? There is no one size fits all answer. School districts need to maintain adequate financial reserves in order to demonstrate a strong fiscal position. A fund balance should be used for planned or unplanned expenses such as roof repairs, a new heating system, textbook purchases, or new educational programming. Next, we'll look at some historical enrollment data. If you'll look at the graph, you can see that the student population in Spooner has declined approximately 200 students over the past 10 years. Next, we'll look at some open enrollment data, and on this graph, you have open enrollment in and open enrollment out. And as you can see, we have a significant disparity between open enrolled out versus open enrolled in. Next, we'll look at some mill rate data. It's important to note that this is the most current data available, and it is from 2020 to 2023. So, as you'll see, the mill rate for the Heart of the North schools are listed, and Spooner falls in the middle group of the 11 districts. Last year's mill rate, as you'll recall, was $7.77. Our per pupil revenue was at the low revenue ceiling at $10,000.
Here we have a basic budget overview. As you can see, the summer enrollment is up 3 FTE, and our total enrollment is down 23 FTEs for the school year. The declining enrollment exemption is down from last year from 200,000 to 33,000. When our average loss in enrollment decreases, this exemption amount decreases as well. Our general aid is down 15%, and this is typical for Spooner. We do budget for this in the preliminary budget as well. The levy is up from last year due to the increase in the low revenue ceiling from the state budget and our approved operating referendum. As you can see, our mill rate is declining again this year due to the increase in equalized values. Last year we were at 7.77, as Dr. Aslan mentioned, and this year we're looking at 7.45. The per pupil aid was unchanged in the state budget, so it will remain at the $742 per pupil. Any questions on this slide? The next slide is a graph of the overall revenues for the district. The tax levy is our largest revenue base for the district at 72%. State general aid is at 4%, and categorical state aid is at 6%, so the combined total of 10% for state aid. Federal aid is next, largest at 9%. This is decreased if you remember what our number was at 14% last year, and that's due to using our ESSER funding in prior years. And we have now budgeted the remainder of our ESSER 3 funds to meet the September 30th deadline for 2024. The remaining 9% is made up of the interfund transfer, and that's the transfer we make from the general fund into the special education fund to zero that out for year end. It is for the interdistrict revenues, your co-op sports, the alternative school, along with then the remaining percentage of the local revenues, which is your athletic fees and your revenues and things we collect here at the district. Any questions on the revenue breakdown? All right. Next, we have a graph of our overall expenses for the district. You can see that salaries and benefits, salaries at 37%, benefits at 12%, are a large portion of our expenses. Contracted services is at 21%, and that's mostly due to contracting out our student transportation, which is a large chunk of that. The debt retirement is at 16% of our budget, and this is for debt payments for referendum approved debt. So that's also including the 2020 capital project referendum that's just finishing. The interfund transfer expenses are the transfers from Fund 10 into the general, or from the general fund to Fund 27 to balance that out. So there's the revenue and the expense side. Consumables are the supplies that are used throughout the district, office supplies, classroom supplies, buildings and grounds supplies, things like that. The capital objects would include expenses like equipment or Chromebooks. The miscellaneous items are district insurance and then membership dues or fees for the district or staff members for certain departments. Any questions on those?
Any questions? No.
No.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. Okay, if there are no questions at this time, then I would request a motion to adopt the 23-24 tax levy in the amount of $19,423,571. Do I have a motion?
So move.
We have a second?
Second?
Okay, all those in favor, please raise your hand. Hold them up till Jesse gets a count. Okay, any opposed? All right, motion passes. Thank you very much. All right, moving on to item B, the Resolution B to establish salaries for school board members, Wisconsin State Statute 120.10.3, as presented. Do we have a motion to approve as presented?
Make that motion.
Paul Johnson, do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor,
Aye.
raise your hand, please. Motion passes then? I'm sorry, any opposed? No, motion passes, sorry. All right, moving on to item C, Resolution C, to authorize the reimbursement of board members for actual and necessary expenses incurred when traveling in performance of duties, Wisconsin State Statute 120.10.4, current being $51.75 per day plus actual expenses as presented. Do we have a motion to approve? Thank you, Mr. Schurz. You have a second?
Second, David Aslan, Town of Casey.
Thank you. All those in favor, raise your hand, please. All right, any opposed? Motion passes then, thank you. All right, moving on to item D, resolution to authorize the Board of Education to set the 2024 annual school district meeting for Monday, October 21st, 2024 at 6 p.m. in conjunction with the regular board meeting at location determined by the Board of Education and the administration, Wisconsin State Statute 120.081. Do we have a motion to approve?
Make that motion.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Any opposed? No, motion passes. Okay, can I have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second.
All those in favor? Any opposition? No, motion passes. All right, the annual meeting is now adjourned.